You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, I take this halftime of the 49ers-Browns game. My Niners are winning. We hit a field goal to take the lead going into half. To give you an update on the WNBA CBA negotiations, because, well, in case you don't know, as of 1:20 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, there is no deal, and as of right now, there's no extension for the CBA deadline, which is today. End of day today. We're hours away. So this is what we got. New York Times put this out this morning. The WNBA and the league's players union have held regular meetings since the sides agreed to a 30-day extension of the current CBA in late October. Sunday night marks the expiration, and the significant gap remains. So it don't sound like they're any closer, especially regarding the league's salary system going forward. Sources with knowledge of discussions told The Athletic. So they've been told straight up. They're far apart, and it's the salaries that have got them stuck. I'm sure it's the salary escalation and how that's going to be handled. During the last month, the two sides have exchanged updated proposals and continued meeting, including the latest bargaining session on Saturday, sources said. The WNBPA has repeatedly proposed a system in which players' salaries are linked to a percentage of the revenue generated by the league. The league has sent a proposal at the end of October that would allow players on maximum level contracts to earn more than $1.1 million in total compensation, with that sum being made up of a combination of base salary believed to be around $800K to $850K per sources, and a revenue sharing component. Details of the revenue sharing element have not been publicized, and players remained frustrated by the league's proposal, which was reported on in mid-November, as it did not reflect their desires for an overhauled system and instead had a fixed base salary component at its center. A resolution about continued negotiations is expected by Sunday's deadline, after one more meeting between the parties. So they're meeting today. If the sides elect to not reach another extension, a work stoppage would still not take effect immediately. The sides would instead enter a period of status quo, which would keep working conditions the same and continue to allow players to use team facilities and receive medical benefits. However, at any point, the players' union or league could announce a work stoppage. Wow. The sides can also continue negotiating in the status quo period. The sides could still agree to have another extension by Sunday's deadline. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Before the 2020 CBA was reached, the league and the players' union agreed to two extensions, a 60-day extension and another 2-week extension, which ran until mid-January when a new agreement was reached. On October 30th, the sides agreed to an initial 30-day extension, with the union requesting a condition that allowed it to terminate the extension within 48 hours' notice. Both sides agreed to allow the other to have a termination clause, and they subsequently continued to meet with neither side enacting it. Before the October 31 deadline, the league met virtually with team front office personnel to discuss logistics of a work stoppage. So the league, it sounds like, has gotten their ducks in a row if they got to go into a work stoppage. They've had the meetings. They know what the dynamics look like. The call was for due diligence and not made with the expectation of a lockout or strike. It is unknown if such a call occurred again in days leading up to Sunday's deadline. However, the league provided an update on the state of talks to its owners. I'm not saying board of governors, to its owners during league meetings in New York City on November 17th and 18th. You can cancel that woke crap. Other issues are also being negotiated in the addition of the salary framework, including formalizing the league-wide charter flight program and improving family planning benefits and health insurance. Sources said they have discussed formalizing benefits for retiring and retired players. The status of the core designation is also expected to be discussed further as talks continue. If an agreement is not finalized by Monday, the off-season timeline for this winter will surely differ from last year. A delay could impact the timing of the upcoming expansion draft for the Toronto Temple and Portland Fire. The Golden State Valkyries conducted their draft on December 6th, so just 7 days away. If this was last year, the expansion draft might be just 7 days away from today. The draft rules are not finalized as the CBA will dictate them. WNBA free agency typically begins in mid-January, although that could change depending on how talks progress. The other question I would have that we heard during the season was, various players came out and talked about this, that the owners actually wanted them to not play in leagues like Unrivaled. So that gets interesting. They didn't say anything about them not wanting to play in overseas leagues, but specifically Unrivaled, of which I wonder, is that because it's a league that is in the United States, that's a professional league, and yes, is a competing league. Technically, Project B is a competing league, but one's competing a little less than the other one because one is actually in the United States. And then you got Project B and all of this looming in the background with bigger salaries to offer. So that's another thing that's not being brought up here. It hasn't been brought up in a while. Where are the owners on the state of the players playing for other leagues now? Because as we heard that salaries may increase by up to 4 times, we also heard, it may be possible that the owners don't want the players playing in other leagues. That's going to get interesting. That's going to get interesting. So I don't know what day they would have had the expansion draft on, just to give you an idea. The 6th, this would have been on a Saturday. So like next Saturday might have been your expansion draft. And we might have had an idea of what players might have went where, yada, yada, yada. This is getting interesting. It is. It's interesting that the owners, the league side, has already had talks about work stoppage and what would happen and etc. in the event of a work stoppage. It sounds to me like they're staring each other down right now. Only one side really has the money here. It's the owners, right? The league. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.